Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're unpacking something kind of wild, a counterintuitive, absolutely brilliant tactical innovation, the overlapping center back. For decades, a center back's main job was pretty simple, right? Just stay back and defend. But, well, tactical evolution waits for literally no one. We're going to look at how manager Chris Wilder took a completely traditional defensive setup and essentially turned it into this overwhelming attacking swarm. It's just a fascinating study in exploiting space, numbers, and honestly, pure team cohesion. So, let's start with a massive tactical problem. How do you figure out a way for a team with limited individual flair to mathematically overwhelm an opponent who's just sitting super deep behind the ball? Picture this. You're a manager who's worked your way up the lower leagues, places like Alfreton Town, Halifax, Oxford, Northampton, and you finally hit the top flight. Your team works incredibly hard, sure, but you don't have those world-class individual superstars. So, how do you break down a team stuffing 10 bodies behind the ball? How do you create chances when your guys can't just effortlessly glide past 3 defenders? That right there was the exact puzzle that needed solving. Traditionally, your center backs are, well, your safety net. They stay deep, they clear the ball, they man-mark the opposition strikers, and they almost never cross the halfway line. But in this modern system, the script is completely flipped. Suddenly, your deepest defenders are tasked with bombing down the wings, overlapping their teammates, and actually whipping crosses straight into the opponent's penalty box. I mean, it sounds totally reckless, right? Almost like a defender completely forgot what position they're supposed to play. To really get why a manager would actually do this, we can look at a spot-on observation from a tactical form user named Moby. He hit the nail on the head, noting that Wilder's squad simply didn't have players with massive individual skill when it came to pace, dribbling, or just beating a man one-on-one. And here's the thing, when you can't rely on a single superstar to magically create something out of nothing, you have to manufacture that space and that numerical advantage through sheer coordinated collective effort. Okay, so how do they practically solve this on the pitch? The brilliant workaround was to just bypass the congested middle of the pitch entirely. Instead of trying to force these cute, intricate short passes through a totally crowded penalty area, the team focuses on moving the ball across much larger distances out wide. They use their hardworking runners to really stretch the pitch, sending bodies flying down the flanks and ultimately flooding the front line. Often you'll literally see 4 or 5 players lined up, just waiting to attack across. It turns the whole game into this relentless, synchronized siege. So what does this actually look like on the grass? If you're watching from the stands, you'll see this crazy, dynamic shapeshift unfold right in front of your eyes. On paper, sure, the team might line up as a standard, solid 3-5-2. But the exact second they secure possession and transition into an attack, that shape just warps into a highly aggressive 2-4-4 formation. It's this sudden, explosive transformation that just completely disorients the opposition's marking scheme. Now you're probably wondering, how do you pull off a massive 2-4-4 shift without instantly giving up a goal on a counterattack? Well, it's a highly disciplined 3-step dance. Step 1, the wide center back charges forward to create a numerical overload on the flank. Step 2, the wing back, who you'd normally expect to be making that run, instead pushes extremely high up the pitch, basically taking up the space of a traditional winger. And then step 3, which is absolutely the glue holding this whole thing together, a central midfielder like Oliver Norwood immediately drops deep to cover the space left by that advancing defender. When you map it out, the numerical shift across these phases is pretty radical. In the defensive phase, it's your standard compact 3-5-2. You've got a shielding midfield and deep wingbacks. But in attack, they morph. The wide threat effectively doubles because you're pairing the wingbacks with those overlapping center backs. Meanwhile, the midfield's role shifts entirely. Instead of just shielding, they're actively choking the center of the pitch to sustain that immense pressure. It does make you wonder, though, right? Why go through all this trouble? It's a fantastic question that another tactical observer, Physiocrat, brought up, and it really gets right to the heart of it. Why engineer these complex, shape-shifting rotations instead of just using a standard formation with normal attacking fullbacks? I mean, it does seem inherently kind of odd that you'd want the attacking positions of your players to be so wildly different from where they start defensively. Well, the answer lies in the unique strategic advantages this specific setup actually gives you. By overlapping a center back with a wing back, you double up the threat on the wings, essentially mimicking the wide combinations you'd normally only see in a classic 4-3-3. But here is the absolute genius part. Unlike a 4-3-3, this system lets you get that aggressive width while still keeping 3 central midfielders on the pitch to control the game and keeping 2 natural strikers up top. Basically, you get the width of a winger system without sacrificing any of your penalty box presence or midfield control. It's the best of both worlds. And having those 3 central midfielders, it is absolutely devastating for the opponent. As form user Peanut perfectly summarized, when the team is fully pushed up into this attacking shape, they effectively create a net right outside the box. So for a defending team that's under siege, any desperate clearance they make is instantly swallowed up by this midfield net. The ball just comes straight back at them, wave after relentless wave, precisely because that central zone is so heavily congested. Furthermore, there's a purely numerical exploitation at play here. Tactical analyst Gio pointed out a historical flaw with the 3-5-2 formation. Think about it. When you play against a team using a single central striker, so a 9-1 setup like a 4-2-3-1 or a 4-1-4-1, having three center backs just casually passing the ball among themselves is a complete waste of a player. The opponent drops 10 men behind the ball, and your three defenders are offering zero offensive threat. The overlapping center back system recognizes this free man at the back and unleashes him forward, turning a static numerical advantage into a highly dynamic attacking weapon. But listen, as with all great innovations, there is a catch. Sending your most defensive players sprinting toward the opponent's corner flag comes with a massive, undeniable risk. If the attack breaks down while your center back is 70 yards out of position, you are left completely exposed. Managing this risk, that's exactly what separates a fun idea from a functional winning tactic. Overcoming that risk requires an incredible level of team cohesion. In academic research on modern football training, this is defined as systemic holism. And systemic holism isn't just some fancy academic buzzword. Think of it like a Swiss watch or a perfectly synchronized swimming routine. A team can't just be viewed as individual parts. It's an interconnected whole, where one single movement demands an automatic, synchronized reaction from everyone else. If a center back moves out of his zone, the system demands an instant adjustment from the midfield and the opposite flank just to maintain structural balance. Because of this deep interdependence, the physical and mental demands on the players are just staggering. As noted in the tactical breakdowns, it requires extreme alertness and positional discipline. Honestly, this is exactly why this tactic is so rare. You simply cannot take your eye off the game for a single second. If just one player misses the trigger, like say one midfielder forgets to drop in or a wingback doesn't provide the right angle, the whole holistic system completely fractures, leaving the team wide open. So to survive this intense mental and physical strain, they actually build strict fail-safes directly into the game plan. For example, they rarely send both wide center backs forward at the exact same time. It's usually an asymmetrical attack just to overload one specific flank. Also, while one side is attacking, the opposite wingback immediately tucks inside, acting as a safe receiver for sweeping cross-field diagonal passes. And finally, possession is paramount. They prioritize super safe passes to open men in overloaded areas, ensuring the receiver is never under immediate pressure to turn the ball over in transition. This brilliantly orchestrated system is such a great testament to how limitations in individual skill can literally be overcome by sheer collective intelligence. It took a perceived defensive weakness and completely transformed it into an overwhelming attacking strength. But you know, football is an ever-evolving puzzle. As defenses sit deeper, as they learn to shift faster and adapt to these overlapping center backs, it leaves us with a thrilling question. How will the next great managers solve the tactical problems of tomorrow? Thanks for joining this explainer. Keep your eyes on the pitch and never stop questioning the game.